Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into one of the oldest and I think one of the most brilliant frameworks for understanding the human mind, the Four Noble Truths. But here's the thing, we're not going to treat this like some ancient religious text. Instead, think of it as a profound psychological diagnosis, a super practical guide for just examining your own experience. You know that feeling, right? It's that kind of persistent, low-grade hum of dissatisfaction. Like you're always running, always striving for something, but you never quite feel like you've arrived. Well, that exact feeling, that's the starting point for this entire teaching. Okay, so let's get into it. So here's our game plan. We're gonna approach this like a visit to a very, very wise doctor. First, we'll talk about the general problem. Then we'll diagnose the specific dissatisfaction. After that, we gotta find the root cause, right? Then comes the good part, the cure and the path to get there. And we'll wrap it all up with a personal prescription you can take with you. All right, first things first. Before we can get to the solution, we have to understand the fundamental problem this whole system is built on. I mean, why was this teaching even developed in the first place? What's it trying to solve? The Buddha's teaching is called the Dharma. Now, this word Dharma, it's not some creed you just have to blindly believe in. Not at all. It's better to think of it like a user manual for reality, a practical set of tools designed to help you see things just as they are through your own direct experience. Okay, I know this might sound a little pessimistic, but just stick with me for a second. The starting point here is a really clear-eyed, honest look at our condition. The observation is that life, just by its very nature, is filled with difficulties and a kind of deep sense of incompleteness. This isn't a moral judgment, it's not trying to be a downer, it's just a diagnosis of the situation as it is. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the Buddha didn't just present his core teaching as a set of beliefs. He framed it like a great physician diagnosing a universal ailment that affects every single one of us. It is just a brilliant and totally timeless way to understand what's going on inside. And these are the Four Noble Truths. It follows a perfect medical model. First, the doctor diagnoses the illness. Second, he figures out its root cause. Third, he gives you the prognosis. Is a cure actually possible? And finally, if it is, he writes the prescription, the practical remedy to make that cure happen. It's so simple, so logical, and just incredibly powerful. So let's look at that diagnosis, Dukkha. Now, it often gets translated as suffering, but that word doesn't really capture it. It's way more subtle than just physical pain. Think of it as a deep underlying unsatisfactoriness that kind of pervades everything. And why? Because everything is impermanent. Everything is always changing, so nothing can give us that solid, lasting happiness we're always looking for. And we all know these forms of dukkha on a gut level, right? I mean, there's the unavoidable pain of getting old, getting sick, of loss. There's the frustration of not getting what you want, and the stress of having to deal with people or situations you can't stand, or being separated from the people and things you love. These are the really obvious surface-level symptoms of the condition. But the diagnosis actually goes much deeper. Beyond that ordinary pain, there's the suffering that comes from change itself. You know that little pang of sadness when a really great vacation is over or a perfect moment ends? That's it. And then at the very deepest level, there's this subtle background hum of anxiety that just comes from being a thing in a world of constant flux, an existence that's built on totally unstable, shifting conditions. Okay, so if dukkha, this unsatisfactoriness, is the symptom, what's the actual virus causing the illness? Because any good doctor knows you can't just treat the symptoms, right? You have to find and deal with the root cause. And the cause is pinpointed with surgical precision. It's a word called Tanha, which literally translates to thirst. This is that relentless craving, that grasping desire for personal gratification that is constantly driving us. It is the engine behind all our restlessness and our dissatisfaction. And this thirst, this craving, it's tricky. It pops up in a few main ways. You've got the obvious one, craving for sensual pleasures, good food, nice things, you know the drill. Then there's this deeper craving just to be somebody, to build up an identity and keep existing. And here's the crazy paradox, it can even show up as the total opposite, a craving to not exist, a desperate desire to just escape it all. It just goes to show how this root thirst can pull us in all sorts of contradictory directions. And this craving has a 1-2 punch. The first one is the psychological impact we feel every single day. It's the source of our stress, our worry, our fear. But in its original context, the teaching goes even deeper. On a cosmic level,
this exact same craving is seen as the fuel for samsara, the force that literally perpetuates the cycle of suffering, life after life after life.
All right, now for the good news. Seriously, after that heavy diagnosis and identifying the cause, the physician delivers a really hopeful prognosis. A cure is absolutely possible. And even better, there is a clear, practical prescription to follow. This is where it all turns around. So here's the beautiful, logical conclusion. If craving is the cause of all this dissatisfaction, then the complete stopping of craving must be the end of dissatisfaction. It's just simple logic. And this state of ultimate peace, of total freedom, of extinguishing that fever of craving, that's called Nibbana, or as you might know it, nirvana.
And this brings us to the prescription itself, the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, don't think of this as a list of commandments. It's way more like a holistic program for living your life. It's a path that combines ethical conduct, mental discipline, and deep wisdom. And it's all designed to systematically uproot that deep-seated craving we've been talking about.
So, how do we take all of this incredible ancient knowledge and turn it into something we can actually use? Well, the Buddha didn't just present these truths for us to believe in. He assigned a specific task and action for each one. And this is what I absolutely love about this framework. It's just so practical. The Four Noble Truths become four active verbs. Your suffering isn't something to just wallow in. It's something you have to understand. Its cause, craving, isn't something to feel guilty about. It's something to abandon. The cure, Nibbana, isn't some faraway dream. It's a reality to be realized. And the path isn't just a theory to read about. It's a set of skills to be developed. It's all about action. Ultimately, this whole teaching, is presented as a tool. The famous metaphor is that it's like a raft. You build the raft to cross a dangerous river. You're going from the shore of bondage and suffering to the other shore of freedom. But once you get across, you don't strap the raft to your back and lug it around, right? No, you leave it behind and walk on, free. It's just a tool to get you there.
So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. If this teaching is the raft, take an honest look. What shore are you currently standing on in your own life? What does your experience of satisfaction and dissatisfaction look like right now? And maybe more importantly, where do you want to go? What does that other shore of freedom look like to you?